We are live on YouTube. Good morning. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Let me hit record. Okay, good morning. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. My name is Coach Lacy. Welcome to Rise and Shine with Morning Moon. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and ding the bell so that you are notified every time we go live here at Rise and Shine with Morning Moon on Wellness with Watson and on Facebook. So I hope you all had a great weekend. It is a beautiful day here. As you can see, it is very sunny here in the Pacific Northwest. And if you haven't already anchored into your wellness foundations in the Rise and Shine with Morning Moon group, I invite you to do so and download the guide at my website, www.lacyjwatson.com, the Release Foundations Guide, so that you can anchor in with your daily foundations checklist and check in with your circle of life check in for the spring season. Summer is coming up on us very quickly, you guys. Easter is here. It is a beautiful week for the resurrection. So today I want to talk about something that I've been chewing on a little bit the last 2 weeks, and I don't know if I have addressed it yet, but maybe I've talked a little bit about it, and that is conflict and how we move through conflict and how do we resolve conflict. It's not always about the big dramatic blowouts. Conflict can be the silent burn. It can be the underground fire, so to speak. The underground fire is way more dangerous than the above ground fire because the underground fire smolders and it burns and it's harder to put out because it just keeps getting perpetuated and it's one that you don't know that exists. And sometimes when you're not addressing conflict, and it's not a big dramatic blowout until it actually happens. The big blowouts happen, of course they happen. But the quiet kind, the underground fire, the tension that you feel when something's just not quite right. Those moments where you want to say something, but deep down, that silence might be the higher road. It's the moments after the conflict. Really, it's you have the blowout or you have the moment, and then it smolders. And either you can address it and you can try to put it out, or you can let it to continue to grow. And underground fires, they continue to grow because they aren't addressed as quickly as, say, the above ground fires are. And it's that tension you feel, after some sort of a conflict or after, the event happens. So conflict, it goes on, the big dramatic blowout. Of course, it's in and of itself is conflict. But the thing that we have to remember about conflict is the fire on the surface. It burns and it rages, but there's also things under the surface that we need to address. And sometimes silence is the quencher, it is the higher road to take. And knowing that not everything requires a response, and not every invitation to continuing conflict is worth accepting. And there are times when the best thing that you can do is saying absolutely nothing, and pulling back. And it's choosing peace, and it's not passive. It's actually an active decision to surrender your ego and the feeling of being right and being justified, and trusting that there that God is bigger than the conflict, or bigger than your opinion, or bigger than your pain. In and everything is perfectly constructed in a divine design that happens for a reason. And sometimes our egos and our mouths, we want justice, but the surrender that our spirit is seeking is in the silence. And so if we can move through conflict and accept what happened, set it down, and walk away, you don't have to slay every dragon. You don't need to. Sometimes it's worth running, sometimes it's worth knowing when to walk away. And sometimes it's worth knowing when not to continue to fight the battle because it's not worth it, And I find myself in times of conflict when people are getting worked up, thinking to myself, can't you just be cool, man? And I remember that in myself when I am getting worked up is, can't you just be cool, man? And some situations require massive action and being worked up, and taking massive action and moving. And there are certain injustices in this world that require being addressed. Things like like human trafficking and injustices towards children. Things of that nature require massive action, and they require a clap back. But these conflicts that we have, that we build up to be more than what they are, or we create situations so that we can control outcomes, or we continue on with the drama so that we can have some power and, I guess, win the battle. But really, we need to have peace, and we need to surrender. And really, it's, just need to be cool, man. Unless it's something that requires being upset over, really, we don't need to get so upset over things. And Joyce Meyer actually said it best. Stop allowing yourselves to be upset and disturbed. Jesus has done his part. Now you need to do yours. And that really affected me when I heard that. And I really let that sink in, because I had the realization that we are not obligated to participate in every argument, and we are not required to explain ourselves to people who've already made up their minds. There are people in our lives who have already made up their minds about us, and they have already made up their mind about what they want, and they already have a story that they're telling themselves, and we don't need to justify ourselves or explain ourselves or be accepted by anybody other than Jesus and other than God. And we don't, in ourselves, we don't need the approval of others. And if they don't see the value that you add to their life, then that's okay. We're not required to explain ourselves. We're not called to defend every single action just so that we're understood. There are times where we will be grossly misunderstood because someone has already made up in their mind who you are in a story. And when that happens, it's just choosing peace, and that looks like sitting in the quiet and praying about it instead of like posting about it, or walking away when your ego really wants to lean in, and when you really want to have that last word, but just turning and walking away and letting life, because life will life. And it doesn't mean that you have to suppress what you feel, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be a doormat. It just means having enough spiritual maturity to pause and pray and proceed from a place of of wisdom and not reacting, rather, you know. And if you are anything like me, you've learned some of the biggest mistakes come from, the biggest messes, I'll say, come from the words that have spoken out of moments of frustration. And that, I have a sharp tongue, and my mouth can really get me into trouble. And I've been the fire starter, in conversations when I should be, soothing, more soothing with my mouth, and less harsh. Um, and I have also, on the flip side, have been the one to, shut my mouth and just go cry in private. And this me more lately, um, and just, to choose grace over a grudge. And I want to invite all of you to do the same today, is just to be silent and try to choose grace over grudges, because I am actively practicing myself, and it's not easy, but peace is peace is a position that you take. It's not just the absence of problem, and it's not um being a doormat. It's not being passive. It's just, it's being it's having perspective. And you know um even when things don't work out, we have, Jesus's peace. We have the peace of God. We have the peace knowing that we can be peaceful inside of ourselves even when things don't seem to be going right, and we can look at the beauty in everything, you know and we can find the beauty in the struggle. And what is the beauty in the struggle? And um let those conflicts and those differences help to shape you and shape your perspective in a way that's fruitful. And bring the people closer to you who understand you and who love you and who do see you. Bring those people closer to you. And the others who don't, let them go. They'll come back someday, and if they don't, fine. you know and so don't don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. If you're being baited into conflict that's beneath you and beneath your calling, don't take the bait. Just move on. And um just know that you're not trying to convince anybody, and you let God handle it. God will handle it, whatever it is. And lay those situations down just so that you can be free of it. Even if it's not fair, even if it's not fair, and even if you don't agree with it, and even if you feel like it's an injustice, just lay it down and walk away. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, because it won't be easy. And I know firsthand what it's like to be misunderstood and demonized and thrown under the bus and treated like I was the problem when I was just trying to help. And I know the feeling of wanting to clear my name, and wanting to fix everything, and wanting, to be in control. But sometimes you just have to let things go, and it's not always the way. And sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do or say is nothing. Just let God do the talking. you know let life do life, and just let peace be the evidence of who you are, and that will tell the truth. So today, if something has been gnawing at you or pulling you into mental anguish, or if you have been feeling like you aren't being seen, or you're being dragged through the mud somewhere, just release it. Just let it go. And you're not responsible how others perceive you. It's none of your business. It's none of your business. So you're only responsible for how you respond to all perception. And you don't have to prove your value to anybody. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to win every single battle, you know. Not every table is meant for you. And some fights are not your war, and some dragons are not yours to slay. So move on and take a breath and let peace be your protest, and walk with your head held high and know that you are loved, and that you are seen, and you are valued, and that there's a divine design and a calling on your life. And anchor in. Be sure to anchor in with your daily foundation so that you have a strong foundation when the battle comes, that you can either flee or fight, depending on what dragons are slaying today. But sometimes it's better just to choose peace and walk away. And so today I'm encouraging you to walk away what doesn't serve you and anchor in to your daily foundations, even if it's just one thing. Even if you just do one thing today, anchor in. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful Monday. It's beautiful. Go get some sunshine and enjoy the day.